Hey y'all, it's time for another car vlog, and this one actually was inspired by just a few posts and some things that I was getting on the Scarlet Moon Twitter page, and even those of you who follow the Scarlet Moon, Facebook page, I was posting some stuff about what's been going on this week. Pluto is stationed, as in getting ready to turn direct after a long time of being retrograde. And I was basically saying, to everybody, remember the lessons of Pluto retrograde, things, it's about understanding no beginnings with no endings, no beginning has no end, if that makes sense. And, so over the course of basically going back to April, we've been having some issues, I think, come up in, our respective houses, wherever those go, getting away, breaking away from certain, patterns and people, and also having some things come back from the past to be revisited. Pluto retrograde, Pluto, the planet of transition and, representative of the underworld, so we're talking about things coming back from the dead. Sometimes they're just coming back from the dead to be dead for good, put it in the ground like a vampire with a stake, or it's, meant to come back because we weren't meant to lose it. Again, all depends on where it is. But right now, Pluto, as I'm making this video, standing practically still. The days have been very long this week, and, I've even had some stuff come up, with my third house, Pluto in the third house energy, old communications, old colleagues, old neighbors, all the usual stuff, some stuff going on with some siblings, and these are all chords that I've been paying attention to, either A, restructuring, or B, just cutting flat out. And that's just me exercising my free will in the works of astrology. And a lot of people have been asking me lately, and I've talked about this a couple of times. I know I've brought it up in a few astrology videos. I think I probably haven't done so much this year, but definitely last year and the year before, about my feelings regarding the idea of fate and destiny and whatnot. And, how much of our participation is needed, how much of our participation is relevant, and how much of our free will do we ever really get to exercise that would be worth a damn. And, I've got two topics or two subtopics to address whenever this question comes up, but my answer to both is the same. I don't believe, and I've yet to experience, fate being set in stone. I've had transits even to my natal chart that I have bypassed entirely, and I think that the way I would describe it is more of fate, the planets, it's all a tide. Our free will is what to do to engage the tide, what to do with that energy. That's the point of actually studying these things. Remember, my studying of astrology comes from a heavy background in the occult, in Hermetic science. The other thing about free will is that sometimes people, I've noticed, really don't like it. They don't trust themselves, or they don't trust their ability to cope with something that may come up. And that a lot of it has to do with the fact that you're confronting an issue that, probably has been put there by fate. Okay, so it's like your free will is in the moment, your free will is what happens. It's kind of like fate moves the pieces. Our actions are our own. Okay, does that make sense? Our actions are our own, but the pieces do get moved around. So, at the end of the day, you're still holding on to your free will. You can choose to, confront the issue as it comes up, or, a lot of these transits, a lot of them are on repeat, One of the things I was telling people with the Pluto retrograde thing, this week, pay attention to stuff you're supposed to be cutting cords with. Don't gab about it. Don't whine about it. Don't try and get analytical about it. Don't give it another year lease on your life, because Pluto's going to be in Capricorn for a while, guys. It's going to go retrograde there again, guys. It's, you know, and it's the same thing with Neptune and Neptune retrograde. Neptune's going to be in Pisces for a while, guys. And that's how transits work, you know, and so we pay attention to where, okay, once, you know, the situation is gone and done, another layer of that transit of that planet in that house may resurface, and it, you know, we have another thing coming. But how we deal with it, again, is always our free will. We can make it good, we can make it not good, we can get through it, we cannot get through it, you know, but at the same time, things will happen differently. Sometimes those energies are very, very strong, and sometimes it can feel like we don't have free will because they are that strong. You know, either we don't feel like we can push against it, utilize it to our advantages. You know, again, this was the whole point of Hermetic science, is understanding how to, you know, optimize and take advantage of these energies and these archetypes. You know, so again, that's kind of my background. Well, kind of it is. And the idea is paying attention to what you can put forth into being and what you can put down out of your being. You know, that's the whole point. Now, some things are stronger than others. The tide will be stronger when you have personal aspects being affected, personal planets being affected. That's what is so important to remember. You know, the tide is weaker in present transits. Okay, so at the time of making this video, the Mars in Virgo transit is not as strong as, say, you know, for you, unless you have it aspecting a planet connected to where it is right now. So if it's, you know, if Mars is transiting, say, your Sun in Virgo, then it will be a lot stronger for you than somebody who's just experiencing Mars transit Virgo. And so again, the tide will be stronger. Does that mean that, again, you have no choice and you're just at the mercy of the universe? Absolutely not. And some of us might think of that as actually an okay transit, because, you know, some of us look forward to those kinds of things, and some of us can make Mars work real well for them. So there's always an opportunity. I've had transits that have kicked my ass before because they were huge, you know, and, you know, I've had Saturn transit my natal Pluto in the first house, okay, and I dealt with 2 deaths close to me within a 90-day period. So for me, my choices and my actions when those things happened were my own. All right, it wasn't this is going to happen, so you're going to do this. You know, astrology can only profile a person so far. And, you know, when we get into the topic of, say, progressed charts, or we get into the topic of, okay, is this about a lesson? Is this a failing that you can grow out of, or a strength you can use? Absolutely. You know, we're not doomed to certain parts of our astrology charts, always. I think that sometimes, you know, it's hard. It's not an easy thing to focus on. It's not an easy thing to think about. But how many of you people have heard me say in horoscopes, in just general weekly and astrology horoscopes, you know, it's like, look, you've got to put yourself out there if you want to go find a love, right? You want to go meet love. There's good opportunity for love, but don't expect love to come kicking your door in. You know, that's, if somebody breaks into your house and says they want to marry you because Venus transited your whatever, you call the police, all right? Or shoot them. Anyway, so that's my thought about it. You know, free will is always there. It's ever present. There are key events, key destiny points that will occur. But will you ever lose your ability to choose? Only if you give it up. And again, I'm going to bring up Sartre. Again, Jean-Paul Sartre. Acting in bad faith is something I think we all need to really take a moment to think about. Acting in bad faith. Acting in bad faith is when a person decides that they don't have a choice, decides that they give up on the ability to choose. And, you know, we've all been in situations where we've been tempted to or felt forced to act in bad faith, right? I didn't have a choice. You always do. Sometimes the situation is totally overwhelming to the point where we feel like the overwhelming energy or the overwhelming instances of that circumstance set an undeniable precedent that makes the decision for us. Not true. And that's the difference between people who survive crazy astrology and people who don't. You know, going again into... So, you can go, sir. You can go. See, he's not... Okay. All right. Okay, you want to do this? Going into, you know, acting in bad faith further, you know, people's lives have meanings when they choose, when they're consciously choosing to participate and exercise their free will. What that meaning is, again, is up to them, but at the same time, people's lives have meanings because they make choices, not because everything happens on accident, and certainly not because everything happens by astrology. To me, astrology is just the weather. It's a prediction of the tide, what is favorable, what is not, what energy is available to you to utilize, either to your advantage or to your detriment. What can you actually do to change the situation around you or take advantage of for the best of all concerned in that situation? You will be tested, things will happen. But the problem is a lot of people have been sort of conditioned to believe that your life has no meaning. You are just here wandering around. You don't have any choice. You don't have any free will. So you are an object in this universe being kicked around left and right. Well, I'm here to tell you that no, absolutely not. There are some things, again, that your astrology will say you will most likely go through. That will happen around you. However, you have a choice, always. Wade in the water, fight the tide, or get off the beach. There are plenty of times where I've seen, you know, I've looked at angles for marriage, even in my own chart, and I was like, well, actually, I was doing something else that month. I wasn't bothering looking for love. I wasn't doing those kinds of things. I wasn't making that effort, you know, and so it passed me by. It wasn't a priority. So I didn't think about it. Well, that's okay with me. Sometimes that happens. Luckily, those kinds of things come again and again. I've already looked further down my chart if I want to take advantage of it. But that's the point. If I want to make a choice with my free will. You have it. You never lost it. No one ever took it away. They can only create the illusion of an undeniable precedent. You can only be tricked into thinking you don't have a choice. You can only be tricked into thinking you don't have a way out. You can be denied information to make an informed decision. God knows that happens a lot nowadays, right? However, doesn't mean a damn thing. It's all around, all the stuff around the choice can get altered, but the free will never gets taken away. A person could be tricked into thinking their back is up against the wall and they only have one option, but they don't. They never have only one option. You can change things with your free will. If you learn how to, you know, also, to get super spiritual on you, you can control how impacted you are. You can. Magic, for me, is what works for me. Some of you may not be interested in the occult. Some of you, some of you may not be interested in Hermetic science. Though, to be frank, I think there are a lot of astrologers out there who just kind of keep that under wraps, just so they don't make people uncomfortable. But, you know, if you're going to believe that, you know, a rock or a gas giant out in outer space is going to impact your love life, or that, you know, somebody flipping over a piece of cardboard can predict your future, you've already got a pretty open mind. What's a little more? You know, I think that you can control how hard you're hit. If you can control how hard you're hit by the negative energy of the earth, of the environment around you, the people around you, the company that you keep, the social climate or the community that you're in, then you can also control how impacted you are by these energies. And it's all about becoming more consciously aware. You know, and deciding, no, I'm not an object with no meaning, who has no choice and no free will. Don't defeat yourself, because that is a choice anyway. Even if you say, I don't have a choice, truth is, you're just making a choice about not having a choice, which then you can always revoke. Always had free will. And that's how we can, you know, better understand how all of these things work. Don't wait for fate to be set in your stone, in favor or against your favor. Look for the advantages and disadvantages. Wade the tide when you can, fight it when you must, and get off the beach when it's prudent. That's what this is all really for, in my opinion. So, just a thought for everybody on my drive home here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll come back with more videos very soon. Hopefully a haircut.